Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this picture. The graduation on the background of this picture is achieved through careful control of the lighting. The whole look of the subject is down to a simple lighting technique, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so let's start with the background. Now what I've got here is a seamless roll of paper, and I've made this gentle curve down onto the desk here. I've just put a couple of clamps on the front here just to hold the paper in place. Then we have the subject, which are just these plants. Then moving a bit further forward, I have a tripod. Now this has a geared center column, so I can control the height quite easily, and also a geared head. Right, so moving on to the camera, I'm using this digital SLR with a 24-70 zoom lens on the front and a flash sync trigger on the top. Now the whole thing is tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to see the results. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, just pop the camera on this tripod like that, and we'll frame up the shot. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is zoom in a little, like that. So that's right at the 70mm end of the 24-70 zoom lens, and we'll just focus the image up a bit. There, somewhere around there I think. So with that done, I'm just going to raise the center column on the tripod just to get a better composition. So I'm going to go for something around there somewhere, I think, like that. Okay, so with that done, next thing to do, just turn the camera on, and that has been recognized by the software, and we can just have a little look down here and see what settings I've got. So at the moment it's got a 1/50th of a second for a shutter speed, an aperture of 2.8 at 100 ISO. So if I was to grab an image at those settings, that is what we're getting with no flash. So in order to cut out the effects of the house lights, what I'm going to do is change these settings. So I'm going to start with the shutter speed. So I'm going to take that up to the flash sync speed for that camera, which is 1/250th of a second. And I'm also going to change the aperture from 2.8 to a more workable f8. So with these new settings, I'll just grab another image. There we go. And you can still see a tiny amount of contamination, but that should be fine for the purpose of this photograph. So the next thing to do would be to think about how it's going to be lit. So what I'm going to do is place a light almost directly over the top of the subject. There we go. I've set this Profoto D2 1000 joule studio head about a foot, 30 centimeters above the subject. Now that is relatively close, and I've done that on purpose. So I end up with a fairly quick drop-off due to the inverse square law, which will enable me to make the curve of the background here a graduation from pure white at the bottom to getting on for black at the top. Okay, so with this in place, next thing to do would be just to evaluate the exposure. Now I don't bother with a flash meter. You could use one if you wish, but with a camera which is tethered, it's a lot easier just to do it with trial and error. So just with an arbitrary energy level set on the flash, I'll just turn that on and take a test image. Okay, so you can see in the test image that it's way overexposed. So what I'm going to do is just take 3 stops off the energy in the head. So I can do that on the remote, just like that. And we'll grab that again. There we are, that's much better. So I'll just have a look around the image. I'll just zoom in a little. And we can see that, yeah, I think the exposure could maybe go up a slight amount. But the focus is more or less where I want it. I don't want everything in focus, I just want the predominant sprig of flowers in focus. Okay, so I'm just going to add maybe half a stop to the energy, just to bring it up a slight bit, like that, and we'll take that again. Yes, that's a bit better. So this is what I had before, and this is what I've got now. So that little increase in exposure I think has worked quite well. Possibly starting to burn out a little bit at the top here, but we'll address that as we move on with the shoot. Okay, so the other thing that you can see in that image is that there is a small amount of graduation in the background, but I want to make that a bit more effective. So what I'm going to do is use a piece of card like this, just to flag off part of the light emanating from this head. There we are, so I've put the flag, the piece of card, on a stand here so that I can adjust it for position. The position of this flag is absolutely critical, and a very small change in its position will make a big change in the way the whole image looks. I'll take a test shot and we'll see what I mean. Okay, so with this just again in an arbitrary position, what I'll do is just grab an image. Okay, and you can see in this image that we have increased the graduation just at the top here. So this is what we had before, and this is what I've got now. But to do this just with trial and error would take quite some time. So there's a better way, and the better way is to make use of the modelling light which is in this head. So if I just turn that modelling light on, like this, and now for this to work effectively, I'll also need to turn out the house lights. So with the house lights out, what I can do now is adjust this and just watch what happens to the shadow on the background. So as I move that in a bit closer, you should be able to see the shadow move across the background. A relatively small change in position of the flag will make quite a large difference to the way the image looks. Okay, so with that just about there, I'll just grab another image. There, so with the flag in its new position, I'm getting a very good graduation on the background. And also, the flag has taken out just enough of the energy to stop the top of the flowers here from burning out. I just zoom into those, we can have a little look. Yes, they look much better. Very good. Okay, so the trick to this particular technique is the placement of this flag. And it's very important that you get it in the right place. So just to reiterate what we've done, I have this 1000 joule studio head, but I'm not using anything like its full energy level. It's actually set to an energy level of 2, which equates to about 4 or 5 joules. So this you could easily do with just a normal, very small speedlight or flash gun. You don't need a studio head, although to set up the flag properly you would need quite a lot of trial and error to get it in the right place, because you won't have any modelling feature on a normal flash gun. Okay, so with all that done and the image captured, it's just time to go into Photoshop and do any post-production. So here is the image opened up in Photoshop. And just looking over it, it looks pretty good just as it is. I don't think there's a great deal of post-production to do to this at all. The graduation seems to have worked very, very well, and the colour balance overall looks extremely neutral to me. Okay, so I think one of the things I will have a look at is a crop. I'm just going to open up the crop tool. Now I'm going to pick a specific ratio so it fits the video, but you could use something which is better for your particular subject. I'm going to just crop this in and move things around a little just to recompose the picture a bit. So I think something like that. That might be a little tight on the crop. I might just open that out a bit. There we are. Yes, I think that looks quite nice. So we'll just click on OK. And there we have it. So just with a really simple lighting technique and next to no post-production, I've ended up with what I think is a very pleasant image. And as we said earlier, this doesn't take a great deal of energy. This can be achieved just with a normal small flash gun. Okay, well I hope you liked seeing how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.